Hey everyone, this is RST instructor Chris Tyler, and we are back with this week's tour analysis on Rickie Fowler, who was able to win the 2015 Players Championship in an awesome playoff and one of the richest purses in golf. So $1.8 million awarded to Rickie Fowler for his phenomenal play over the weekend. We're going to be focusing in on a couple of the swing changes that he's been able to make and how it's been able to, with him correcting things early on in the swing, it's ultimately allowed him to get into a better spot at the top, which in turn has allowed him to pick up a little bit more speed. And also he's now protecting his body a little bit more down in the hitting area. So let's go ahead and take a look at this. Okay guys, so those of you that are joining us on our YouTube channel, and before I get into some of the changes that Rickie's made to his golf swing, some of those changes that you're probably already well aware of, at the end of this video, I'm going to show you a preview of a premium video that we have on the website that talks about how to get into a perfect takeaway position every single time with just a simple 2-inch movement. And remember, if you have any questions or comments, please feel free to post those up. Now let's go ahead and take a look at this awesome swing change. Okay guys, so as I said in the opener, we're going to be focusing in on some of the changes that Rickie Fowler has been able to make over the last couple years. And ultimately it's been able to get him a little bit more distance and also protect his back, because late in the 2013 season, I know Rickie was struggling a little bit with some back pain, and hopefully these changes have got him into an area where he's protecting his body. He's obviously swinging much more efficiently here, picking up a good 7 yards on average from where he was back in 2013. And we're just going to spend some time going through some of these changes just so you can see how the cause and effect relationship works with some of these moves that he's been able to overcome and make much better. So just taking a look here over on the right hand side of the screen, I have the golf swing of old. I've got an elbow plane line drawn. This is where it's up from the hosel of the golf club through the base of the elbow. You'll see us use these lines very frequently around the website. But you're going to go ahead and see a very big difference here as we start to get into a completed takeaway position here. Okay, notice how his hands have worked down towards his trail thigh here. All right, you can see how they worked really. He's been noted for dragging his hands to the inside, trying to hold the club out in front of him, where this is one of the newer changes that we see out of his golf swing here. So getting into a completed takeaway position here, you can see that his hands are much higher up in relationship to the plane line here. The hands are not working inside towards the thigh. Club head's more in line with the hands here. And in turn, what this little bit of elevation has done for him, it's going to allow him to work his hands and arms more into the vertical plane and get into a little bit more of a vertical position at the top of the swing. And I'll get further into that in just a moment. But if you've noticed that your hands are getting pulled too inside, you might be lacking a little bit of shoulder elevation. And we've got a good video on the website called the Pool Noodle Shoulder Elevation video. And all that is just a slight upward movement of the arms coupled with some rotation, and that in turn will get you into a very textbook looking position here, which will make it much easier for you to get things into a vertical position at the top of the swing. Alright, so from here on the right hand side of the screen, okay, you're going to see that hands were inside and then up into the top of the swing. Notice how low his lead arm is in relationship to his shoulder line. Okay, so this is a much flatter position. And then now that he's got a little bit more elevation from the earlier on part of the golf swing, now you can see that his lead arm is much higher in relationship to the shoulder line. Now it might not look like a big drastic change to you at home, but this is a pretty good sized change for a golf professional. Okay, so now with having the hands and arms into a little bit more of a vertical position up here, this is in turn going to allow him, he tends to allow the club to get really flat coming down, or used to allow the club to get very flat coming down. And you're going to see over here as his hands and arms start to drop, this club comes in very shallow, so you can see where his hands are. They're approaching the trail thigh, and this is where the club head is. You can see how quite a bit low it is in relationship to the plane line here. And now with this new move, with a little bit more of a vertical position, you can see that this club gets on the plane line very early. Hands are approaching in front of that trail thigh, stays on the plane line here, and delivering the golf club from a much better angle of attack here. A much better path. So this is a great change that he's made in his golf swing, and in turn he's been able to pick up more distance with it and also been able to protect his back. So it's great news for Rickie and his future within the game of golf, and he's just going to continue to get better and better and better. Alright guys, so just a couple of things that I want you to take notice of or work on. If you notice, like I said, that your hands are getting a little bit flat into the inside, you want to work on making sure that you add a little bit of elevation to the mix. If you've had a really difficult time with creating a very consistent takeaway, then one of our best videos on the website is Move 1, the takeaway. Just talk about a slight 2-inch movement of the shoulder blade. in towards your center, and that helps create some very consistent movement. And you can couple that with the shoulder elevation video there, the pool noodle video, and in turn you'll have a very good position to start to work up to the top part of your backswing. And then for those of you players that have been noted to get the club a little bit stuck and a little bit flat on the way down, we have another great video that's called Trace the Plane Line. That's a video that we talk about how to get the club a little bit more out in front of us on the way down and ultimately get into a better angle of attack and a better path. So check those videos out, guys. That's going to be to the right of the video player. There's a tab that says recommended videos. Just click that tab. You'll see those videos populate, and you'll be well on your way to making some great golf swings. All right, guys, I wish you all the best. Now let's make it a great day.
The takeaway is one of the easiest parts of the golf swing to get correct. You're starting from a static position and there's very little movement. However, it's probably the thing that I see in the golf swing that's messed up the most by most golfers. And so when you're learning the takeaway, it's imperative to take the time to learn to do it right, to understand the checkpoints, what you're looking for and why, and how all the things that you do wrong can mess up the rest of the things going on in your swing. So it's super, super important that you take the time to do the takeaway right. So I'm going to go through all the checkpoints and then give you basically a program at the end that you can follow along with so that you can start to feel and check yourself with mirrors and video to make sure you're doing these things correctly. The first thing I want to talk about are a couple of the most common tendencies that I see and I talk about. The first one I want to talk about is the wrist hinge. Okay? If I'm standing here to dress and all I do is hinge the right wrist. So when you talk about wrist movement, if you've seen the Rotary Swing Tour instructor manual, you understand moving in this plane is cocking and uncocking. This way is hinging and unhinging to keep things simple. So what you want to feel that during the takeaway is that there's maybe a small amount of cocking, which is okay, but there's no hinge, okay? And I'm going to explain why. First of all, when you put the right hand on the golf club, it's really easy to move the club a long ways just with hinging. This is a dominant move. This wants to happen during the swing. That's the direction you want to move the club. And the quickest, easiest way to move that club in that direction is to hinge your wrist. And so that's what a lot of golfers do. So to start the takeaway, the first thing they do is hinge that right wrist. And so what that does, if you look from down the line, is it shuts the club face. Okay? So now we've immediately started our golf swing requiring some sort of compensation. Whether you're going to have a shut club face at the top and you're going to hold on the way down or what have you, you have to do something to compensate for a closed club face, period. There's no way around it. So we obviously don't want to be building compensations in during the first 6 inches of the golf swing. So what you have to learn to do is keep that wrist in neutral. And so there's a couple checkpoints for you to look at. First,